Hello there, and welcome to a new episode of Talk Music Talk with Boys. I am Boys. This is my podcast. I am your host. Thank you for listening. The first-time listener, well, let me tell you that Talk Music Talk is a weekly music interview podcast where I have long-form conversations with people connected to music from different genres and different backgrounds, both established and emerging musicians, singers, songwriters, music therapists, and music journalists. And on this episode, it's very special because I've known this guest for quite some time. Producer, songwriter, musician, engineer Gian Stone. I will tell you more about him in a sec. I met Gian over 10 years ago working on my debut album, which was called How to Be an Adult. For people who don't know that I had a debut album, it was produced by our mutual friend Ben Rice at Degraw Sound Studios in Brooklyn. Gian edited my vocals. That's when I first met him. Since then, I have watched him become one of the most up-and-coming producers out there. Just some of his recent highlights: Dua Lipa's Physical. He was the vocal producer. He was a vocal producer on 2 tracks from Madonna's last album, Madam X. He co-wrote Maroon 5's Girls Like You, co-wrote the Jonas Brothers' Like It's Christmas, and just in May, Billboard magazine put him at the top of their Hot 100 producers chart. He debuted at number 1, and he was there because a song that he was the sole producer on and co-writer, Stuck With You by Ariana Grande and Justin Bieber, that debuted at number 1, and he's worked with loads of other people. In our conversation, we talk about his dream of a music career. We talk about him learning his craft, getting his big break, working with his mentor, Jason Evagon. He talks about his process of working with artists to help them get the best from them, their best vocals, their best whatever from them. He also talks about why he loves pop music, new ways to record during the quarantine. Plus, you will hear about some upcoming projects and aspirations. It was great catching up with Gian, and in the interview, I say this, that he's one of the nicest people you could meet. He didn't play on my album, but he played drums at my first show with a band, and I was expecting a big turnout. Only 1/3 of the venue was filled, which means I didn't make any money, but I still had to pay the band afterwards. And I didn't know, because this is my first time doing this, that there is a fee that people will often charge you for, a travel fee, so they don't have to take the subway. Makes perfect sense. They can take a cab or whatever car service. So I paid everyone their fee, and Gian comes over to me, and he hands me back that fee. And I thanked him then, but I never got to thank him again and again and again. So thank you, Gian, for doing that. That was really kind of you. I appreciate it. And I am just so thrilled to see all these wonderful things happen to such a great guy. So here it is, without further ado, my conversation with Gian Stone. Enjoy. It felt like there was some point where I started seeing vocal producer, like when I read, because I love to read, album credits. Well, I guess now album credits is wiki, but I started seeing vocal producer, and I'm like, okay, there's producer and then vocal producer, which is what you've been doing. What exactly is a vocal producer?
So vocal producer, I do feel like it's a somewhat newish kind of thing.
Yeah.
I think that in the way that a lot of music is being made now, whether it be the producers live all over the place, artists live all over the place. And a lot of times people just make beats and they're not like really, always comfortable working with the artist or, recording the artist. It's basically this thing where you kind of go in with the artist and either I wrote the song myself or somebody else is giving me a song to vocal produce for them. And, it's this blend of being a therapist, blend of being an engineer, blend of, vocal producing. And basically you're there. And a lot of the times when songs are being written, the demo singers, the people that you're writing them with have such incredible voices, and you get so used to, the nuances of the demo and whatever. And you really want to try to get that from the artist, but you also want the artist to be the artist. And be them. There's a reason why, they are who they are. So yeah, it's basically you're going in and you're kind of trying to coach them to, help get the emotion and the pocket and everything out of the vocals, similar to what the demo had. And giving them harmony ideas and, maybe giving them ad-lib ideas. And then after that day, you kind of, you go home and you go through the various comps. Sometimes you have 5 of each section. Sometimes you have 100 of each section. It really just depends. You go through and you start going and seeing like, oh, this word from this take is really good. And this one from this take. And, and then tuning and doing the timing and everything and doing effects. And you're basically just like, you're building a vocal arrangement just as you would with a track, adding your guitar here and your bass here. It's like you're doing that with your vocals. So it's this really, for me, it's being that I also do writing and production. It's been this really cool way to kind of get in the door with a lot of people, and I think it's the best thing I've ever, learned to do and do. It's great. Yeah.
Do you like sit down or with the person beforehand and talk about like, are you both on the same page? Like, how does that
usually with the people who wrote the song and the producer of the song, I usually try to give them a quick call before the session. If I didn't write the song, if I'm doing it for somebody else. And I kind of just, ask them like, hey, what are some things that you really like want to make sure I get, in this vocal? Like I just recently, 2 days ago, and I was working on it yesterday, did a vocal for somebody and he has an incredible voice and he comes from kind of a Broadway background. So he had a little bit more vibrato on it,
okay.
and whereas the demo was a lot straighter. And so, I talked to the producers and they said, is there, do you want kind of more or less, like, how are you kind of hearing it? And basically the general consensus is like, yeah. And what they said is like, let the singer be the singer, but also you don't want it to be like, so I definitely do talk to the producer and the engine and the songwriters of the song prior. And then, when the artist gets there, we kind of just talk about approach and I try to get them in the headspace. What does this song mean to you? And just help them kind of get inside the song. Because as you know, when you have emotional ties to something, you just perform it better, So it's a lot of that, and just making sure they're comfortable, making sure like I'm not here to just for my ideas to come across. Like, no, I'm here to try to help you be the best you can be.
Okay. Is there like a different approaches to say someone who's a newer singer and somebody who's been doing this for quite some time? Where like, okay, I know what I'm doing. Gian, you can't tell me.
I've definitely gotten checked in sessions where I say something like, I got this. You're like, okay, cool. And I love when that happens. It's like, cool. Like, what you want it to sound like, and that's great. It's interesting. Like, there have been a few artists that I've worked with that have done the whole playing in bars for 20 years prior to becoming a star or 10 years, whatever. And it's like they get on a mic and it's like that first, second, third take. It's like, that's it. Like that's, 90% of what you need. And then there are other people where you're like, I don't think, they've been just, maybe they've been on tour and they're like, they've done 10 shows this week and their voice is just shot. And it's like, all right, I'm going to try. I'm going to get what I can. I probably can't get more than 3 takes here, 3 takes here. And then it's like, well, maybe we bring in the demo singer a little bit, like just blend them a little bit to give them a little bit of support or, whatever. So there's little tricks, but I think everybody's different and you kind of have to read them. Like if they're starting to get really frustrated on a section, like, all right, let's jump to the next one and we'll come back to that. Just, keeping it positive, keeping it moving. But yeah, every singer's different for sure.
Oh, okay. And how did you break into like starting with vocal producing?
When I was at Degraw Sound, which you worked at.
So Degraw Sound is the studio, just to give people a little.
Yeah, Degraw Sound is a studio here in Gowanus. It was founded by our good friend Ben Rice, and the same time that he opened it, I opened a room there as well. So we basically had 2 rooms running at the same time. And that's kind of where I started working out of, and I started working with. My buddy David, and he was working with the vocal producer at the time, and I didn't really know what that was either. And I was like, okay, cool. Like he can come in and help do the vocal. And sitting with him, his name is Gordon Grody. He's an incredible vocal producer, singer, everything. I really learned a lot from him just about timing and pocket and feel and emotion. And then, kind of took that information and tried to, make it like, that's what I focus on. Timing, pocket, emotion, mostly emotion. And then when I moved to LA and I started working with my buddy Jason Evigan, he was mostly looking for a vocal producer, engineer to kind of be with him. And I learned so much from him, just how to capture vocals and push artists and everything. So it just, most of it has just been like being thrown into the fire and having to, figure it out. And I still feel like every single day I'm learning something about it. So it's hard, man. You're dealing with emotions and I'm emotional. It's crazy. But yeah, I think just I learned mostly from trial and error and a few people who really taught me, a lot. Yeah.
So did the vocal producer, what brought that about? Is it because a lot of the music is, producer driven? Like what brought it about that we need a vocal producer as opposed to just the overall producer?
Some people, like, especially in quarantine, I've been doing a ton of vocal production and the workflow's really been different because obviously I'm not in the room with them, going through it. And a lot of singers, do it themselves. Like I just did a record that came out a couple months ago and both singers on it were at home just vocal producing themselves. And I was like, that's better than anything I could do. It was amazing. So a lot of people don't need it, but I think it helps instill confidence. And, I think singing is really scary. I mean, you're vulnerable from, the moment you start singing. I have the worst voice ever. So the moment I start singing and I'm trying to get a harmony idea, I'm like the most insecure person in the studio. But, I think it just helps, instill confidence and helps with direction. And a lot of times I'm also engineering it. So I'm also just acting as an engineer to help them record it so they don't have to think about pushing buttons,
Oh, okay.
But yeah, not everybody needs it, but there's plenty of singers that are incredible. But sometimes, I just help get it that little percent, better, easier for them or whatever.
Okay. So why do you think it's something that came along when that wasn't an actual production title?
It's a really good question. I think there's a few possible answers for it. I don't know the exact answer, but I think music has become, especially, in the 2000s, 2010 around there, pop got so perfect. Everything was so perfect. And I think we all got used to kind of hearing things in tune and timed and everything. And, I think that, but not everybody needs that. Not everybody wants that. So many times you want the singer's just I don't want to hear any tuning. I don't want to hear any editing. I want it to sound as natural as possible. And that's mostly what you want. So, but I think that's still, you don't want any rub. You don't want anything out of time. So I think it came from, we have the technology now to kind of make these vocals as perfect or maybe not even as perfect, just even with the emotions, being able to comp through 100 takes. You weren't able to do that, 30 years ago. So I think a lot of it came from just technology allows you to do more, I don't know. It's a great question.
Did it come along kind of simultaneously with things like that you're able to fix, pitch correct people's vocals?
Yeah. I mean, I think it's a huge thing, being able to do that and, being able to layer harmonies so beautifully and, everything. But, there's also something really cool. There's times that I've done vocals and it's I'm just going to put on a little autotune and I'm going to let it be what it is and let it kind of wild and whatever, because that's what the emotion calls for, So I think it's just being smart about it. There have been plenty of times where I've overtuned something and the artist is nope, that's not going to work. I remember one of the, and I don't like the name of that, but I was working with this artist. I was working with Madonna one day and she cut a vocal and she was go in the other room and start tuning it. So go in the other room. I'm working on it. I'm going whatever. And she comes in 4 hours later, I was like, okay, it's, I think I got it good, but her performance was already so good, but I was it was a long day. I was in my head and she walks in, she's like, play me what you got. It's me and, Madonna, one of the greatest ever. And I'm playing and she's like, start over. Doesn't sound right. And I was just oh my God, so I did the wrong job that day. And, luckily I stayed up all night and fixed it, but yeah, I don't know.
Okay. What do you learn when working with Madonna? Because I didn't know that until I started preparing for the interview that you did on Madam X Crazy and
yes, exactly.
Okay, vocal production.
Yes.
Okay, so what did you like learn from her, and like what was the whole setup? And
people like her, they're who they are for a reason.
Yeah.
They have such an identity. It's just about helping be the best version of themselves. It's not reinventing the wheel. Like, she knows exactly what she wants. I mean, she's incredible. Like, she's Madonna.
Yeah.
You know, like she's amazing. So I just learned to not get in the way and to just help her be, you know, the best version of herself as she can. And she's already great at that. You know?
Okay. So what was the intimidation factor for you, or was there none?
I think that, you know, being that, you know, the name, it's like, oh, this is, you know, but also it's like, when you realize, like, dang, these people really, really, you know what they're talking about. It's like, you got to make sure that, like, I had to make sure that I was just on point. And especially after that night where she's like, start over.
Yeah.
I wasn't upset. And she knew that I was just kind of getting into it. But it was just like, all right, like, you know, I got to really, I'm playing, you know, in the big leagues. Like, I got to really, like, try to do a good job on it, you know? And that's intimidating. And you know, working with some of these people, it's just like, you know, I idolize them, you know, it's like, I'm a fan. Like, I learned about vocal production from listening to them too, you know, and I'm like, they're coaching them. It's like, why am I doing that? You're already the best, you know?
Yeah, because it seemed like it's interesting in her case because she's someone who has been around long enough that there weren't vocal producers.
Totally.
Yeah, to assist on the track.
But I'm sure there were, you know, I'm sure the producer in the room was helping, you know, with deliver that vocal, like, hey, you know, and add this harmony and stuff. I'm sure that there's some of that as well, but the dedicated title to vocal production, probably not. You know?
How did you went to school for web design and graphic design? So how did the path, was it always like, was that like the day job that you were looking at and that music would be the thing that you really wanted to do?
Yeah, I think I've always been like stubborn and just like, I knew I wanted to do music but I didn't think like you need to go to school for it. I was like, I don't need theory. The Beatles didn't have theory, whatever. And as I get older, I like love theory now, you know, but I think it was just kind of having, you know, my parents wanted me to go to college and, you know, I knew I wanted to do music, but like, it's so hard to figure out kind of a lane for that. So I was just like, cool, I'm going to do my fallback. I'll work on music the 20 other hours of the day that I'm not in school. And that's kind of what I did, just like recording bands in my parents' bedroom and, you know, or my parents' house, my bedroom and my parents' house. Yeah. It's like in their bedroom, hey guys. It kind of like, I always knew I wanted to do it, but I just wanted to have a little bit of a safety net. But I also think that, you know, and I'm sure you have a similar thing. It's like, as a creative, you know, music is what we do and we love music, we're obsessed with it, but we also value beautiful design and beautiful fashion, beautiful architecture. It's like, you know, we just love creation, you know, and I think graphic design is something I still love, and I don't really do it that much anymore, but I just love all aspects of art, you know?
How did you balance, well, first of all, where did you go to school?
I went to City College up in Harlem.
Oh, okay. And how did you balance, you know, going to school and still focusing on the music?
Definitely skipped a lot of class. I wasn't the best, to be honest. But I don't know, like, I mean, my high school teacher who became a huge mentor and friend of mine, Brian Latique, he was always just like, you know, just spend every waking, if there's something you love, just spend every waking hour doing it, and like, just go hard as you can, go for it. And I think that as much as maybe my parents didn't like that, just when I was in college, it was like, that's what I'm going to do. Like, school is secondary to me right now. And I'm not saying that that's the right way to do it at all. Like, you know, but for me, I was just so obsessed with music and trying to get better and, you know, being around like so many incredible people my whole life, you know, you included. Like, I mean, your album was incredible that, you know, ended up working on. And it's just like, I don't know, just being around everybody, I was like, dang, I got to get better. I got to step it up. So it was just, and the only way you do that is the 10,000 hours and then, you know, doing that multiple times. So, yeah.
Because when I met you, you worked on my vocals on my album. And I was feeling you mentioned like insecure. I was feeling like, I felt a confidence in the songwriting. Totally. But like, that was my first album. So I felt like a lot of insecurity. So when you worked on the vocals, it was really like, oh my God, okay. He just took it from here to there. So
thank you.
Thank you for that.
I appreciate that.
And was the dream in college to to be a musician or to work on other people's, like the production side? Like, what did that look like for you?
I think in college is when I started writing songs a little bit and producing a little bit, but I also just wanted to be like a drummer, like I would play with all these bands. But, there's this like, the expression jack of all trades, master.
Yeah.
It was always so instilled in my brain that like the correct response to that is, okay, I'm going to be a master. Like I want to master one thing and I'm not going to focus on all this stuff. And as I get older, I realized that no, like you want to be a jack of all trades and you want to do all this stuff. So I think it started off as wanting to be a drummer, but then I also wanted to produce and I also wanted to songwrite and I also wanted to make a living with music. So I may have to learn how to engineer better and because engineering was never my passion, but I love it, and I also want to learn how to vocal production and do vocal production. It's like you do all these things and all of a sudden, somebody could call you up for, instead of just one thing, they need a drummer. It's like, well, I have to make an album. So there's 15 jobs in making an album. I could just bring you in for one of them. And I think I started to notice that early on. And I was also just loved every aspect of making music. So, yeah.
Yeah, people should know you're a badass drummer, too.
Not anymore, unfortunately, but thank you.
Because you drummed at my first shows.
Yeah.
We had 2 rehearsals or something?
Yeah, it was awesome. And by the way, there's a funny story. I'm sure you know this, but after the gig, you remember Wayne, bass player?
Yeah.
After the gig, somebody went up, and he was just such a matter-of-fact, funny guy.
Yes.
And somebody comes up to us after, and he goes, "Man, you guys sounded great." And usually your response is, "Oh, thank you so much," And he goes, "Well, we practiced." It's like, of course he sounded great.
There you go.
I love that. Yeah. Amazing.
So were you from New York?
Yeah, born and raised New York.
Oh, okay, what part?
Grew up on the Upper West Side of Manhattan.
Oh, okay.
And then bounced all around. And now I'm mostly in LA, but I split time between the two a little bit.
Okay. And what was were drums your first instrument?
Drums was my first instrument.
Okay.
Yeah.
And how old were you when you started?
14, but it's funny, to be honest, I started playing drums just because I was never the cool kid in school, and my friend got a drum set and all the girls in school were like, "Oh, you're so cool because you play drums." So I think it was originally I picked it up because I just wanted to be cool, and I love the music, but I really have this desire to learn drums and be great. And then halfway through high school I was like, actually this could be really cool to try to get. So I think around then, but I think I really started taking it seriously at 16, maybe,
Oh, okay. Yeah. That was the sole reason because you thought it might.
That's how it started out.
Okay.
Wanted to fit and be cool, and then it just took over,
And were you doing graphic design and web design and stuff? Was that an interest in high school?
Right after high school, I got into it.
Okay.
Yeah. I worked for a clothing company. I actually did some clothing design, oddly enough, because I'm the least fashionable person ever.
Yeah.
And then try to learn how to DJ because that was part of the whole brand thing with them. So yeah, it's weird to me. Yeah.
So after you go, when did I meet you? Was that post-college when I met you, or?
Yeah, post-college, but shortly after, probably 23, something like that. 22,
okay. And how did you connect with Ben?
Ben was in Surefire at when I was in high school.
I forgot about Surefire.
And they were just the coolest, best band in New York. And Nick Pankin, who played in Surefire, went to my high school. So I remember, we my band at the time, I think we were the coolest band in school maybe at the time. And so we did the Battle of the Bands. We're like, we're going to crush this. And all of a sudden it's Surefire's on the bill. And we're like, oh my God. And they came and it was just the best. It was their songs were great. Their look was great. Ben's voice was incredible. So I was I became a fan. I was like, dang, Ben is the real deal.
Yeah.
And then I found out he had a studio in Brooklyn and I wanted to bring my bands over there. And I was like, dang, Ben would produce us. So I learned so much from Ben, and I still learn. I mean, we were in the studio recently, and I'm learning stuff from him every day. He's incredible. So yeah, it started out with me just being a fan and being like, "You're in the best band."
Yeah. No, you just ask him for a job, is that, or to work there?
Yeah, well, we were doing. I was doing a bunch of records like at his studio at the time. And then he's like, "Dude, do you want to open up a recording studio with me?" And I was like, "That sounds cool, but I don't know what that really means."
Yeah.
And he's like, "Well, we'll figure it out." Like, and I was like, "Okay." And I remember I worked 4 jobs for a year and a half while like the studio was being built and while he was like figuring out the plans. And then we opened and I remember my first session, like I didn't really know how to EQ anything. Like I really shouldn't have opened the studio or been doing anything. And I remember like texting him under the desk, like, "Dude, how do I EQ a guitar? What do I need to put on it?" He's like, "Cut some low end, compress it here." And I was like, I don't even know what the hell that means. So yeah, I learned. He gave me an opportunity and a space, and learned a lot from that.
So what was the foundation that you learned there before you moved? Things you learned from that period.
Everything. Just learning how to engineer just through trial and error and learning from him, learning how to produce, learning how to get drum sounds. Like, I mean, Ben's like a real deal engineer amongst other things. So learning like the actual way of getting sounds and EQing on a board and about the different mics, like he was one of the best people to learn from. So I think although so much of my music is made on this SM7 microphone and a MIDI keyboard and, maybe a guitar, all those techniques that I learned, working with him, has helped me so much.
Yeah, yeah. So when did you move to LA?
4 years ago.
Okay. And why did you move there? Like, what was your intention?
I was so in love with pop songwriting and production at the time. I remember there was this one night where I went to a bar in my neighborhood and my buddy was in this band, this like funk soul band. And they would go on at like 8 from like 8 to 11. And then my other friend would DJ and he would just play like, top 40 hits of the day. And I remember I was a little bit snobby. I was like, I don't know if I like pop music. Like I love Maroon 5 and I loved a couple artists, but like, I was like, I don't know, it's kind of whack. Like my friend's band that's the cool, that's the cool stuff. And then I remember Call Me Maybe came on. That's when that song was big. And I was just like, yo, everybody's bugging out. Like at the bar, everybody's dancing and singing. Like that's so dope. And I think that there was an element of like the same thing with drums, just like, I want to make music that people like and people like, have fun to. So yeah, I got into, trying to learn pop music years prior to moving to LA, but then just realizing that all that music is being made, all pop music is being made in LA. That's where everybody is. And so I did a couple trips out there and I reached out to some producers and writers who I really looked up to, like, dude, I'd love to work with you. And 1 out of every 100 responded. And one of them was this guy, Jason Evigan. And I was so obsessed with his work. Demi Lovato's Heart Attack and Jason Derulo's Talk Dirty and It Was Always You by Maroon 5 and Chains by Nick Jonas, all these songs that were just so freaking cool and like well-written songs. And he was always just, really responsive, like, yo, your music sounded good, keep it up, or like try this, or, whatever. And after talking to him for 2 years, I was out there with Ben actually, and I hit up Jason. I was like, dude, I'm in town. And he's like, yo, let's just hang for an hour. And I was like, cool. And I was like, wait, does that mean I'm about to write a song with him, or are we just going to talk and have coffee? And I didn't really know what to expect. And I was like, I'm a New Yorker at heart. I was like, I'm never moving to LA, whatever. And we just hung out for an hour and he was like, dude, I have a crazy 2 weeks run coming up where I really could use a right-hand man. Like, do you want to come out and just basically fly back to New York, be there for a week and then come out for 2 weeks and just work with me and shadow me? And I was like, that sounds amazing. And on day 3, I remember waking up, I was staying in his house. I remember waking up and he was at the foot of my bed and he was like, dude, like, I want to work with you every day. Like, I feel like we're like brothers. And I was like, dude, I feel the same way. Like, you're like, one of my best friends automatically, and she's like, cool. So we did those 2 weeks. We had some crazy sessions. And then he's like, cool, go back to New York, pack up your stuff and move out here if you're down. And a month later, I was living out there and working with him every day. And it's been crazy. So I never thought I'd move, but, he gave me an opportunity, which I'm so grateful for. And yeah. Were
you scared about the move?
Yeah. I don't like LA. I still don't like LA. Don't tell anybody that, but New York is home. And I look up to all these people. And just like we were talking about with Madonna, it's like these people are so freaking talented. And it's like, I still just feel like the worst person in the room like every day. So it's just like, dang, I got to really step my game up, So yeah, I think I was scared on so many levels,
Yeah. When did you, was there a moment when you felt like you had arrived in what you wanted to do?
I mean, yeah, I mean, like arrived, like I'm grateful that I get to do music every day. Like I feel like that's like my dream was to do that. And there've been a couple like, you know, pipe dreams that I was like, this will never happen, that, you know, some of them have happened and I'm so freaking lucky and grateful for them. But I also feel like I have so much further to go. And like, I still just want to get better and better and better, you know? So in a way, I think I've arrived in terms of like, I get to do music for a living and that's amazing, but I'm like, dang, I have to get way better at this. You know? Yeah, it's hard.
So talk about you doing the songwriting. So you've been, co-songwriting and all that.
Yeah.
Like, how does that look when you're sitting down? Because you've been writing with Jason. Right?
Yeah, writing with Jason and other people, you know. But yeah, just I wrote, you know, the past few years I've been writing a ton. Like that's mostly what I've been doing. I still do vocal production a lot, but last year I wrote 110 songs. This year I'm at 60 so far. I mean, I'm writing a lot and just trying to sharpen my sword, sharpen my pen. And, you know, yeah, it's weird. I haven't written a song by myself. Like maybe I write 2 of them a year, you know, but mostly it's just writing with other people.
Okay.
You know?
What do you think Gian Stone brings to a track when he's as a songwriter?
I don't know. I think it depends on the day. You know, I think that when you're writing a song, it's a real team sport. And some days I'm not on and I feel like, well, I didn't contribute anything. And sometimes I really feel like I'm bringing a lot to the table. I think that, you know, I try to just bring my true self. And if I have a story or something that's like touching my heart, I try to speak on it early on and see if it inspires. And then a lot of times I'm the producer in the session as well. So I try to just create a bit of music that fits a song, that, you know, enhances the song. So yeah, I think it just depends. But I think mainly, I bring the team element and trying to like help people be the best songwriters that day. You know, if I'm not coming up with a lyric, like push you to, you know, feel inspired to come up with a lyric, and don't be afraid to throw out an idea, because, you know, I'm not going to think it's bad and be like, yo, that idea sucks. It's like, no, let's just make it the best we can, you know?
Okay.
So, yeah.
You're contributing different now, not just say lyrics, but also like melody,
chords, everything. Yeah.
Okay. And so let's do some of the highlights. You vocal produced one of my favorite songs this year, Dua Lipa's Physical.
Oh, yeah,
I love that song. I love that album too.
Yeah, it's so good. The album is insane. But thank you. Yeah.
Yeah. So how did that come about, working with her?
She is amazing. She wrote that song with Jason and a few other friends. And that day, I mean, a lot of times, like the day that you write it, you just cut a vocal, and she had been singing. I mean, she writes her ass off. Like she was writing with everybody in town, like everybody all over. And so she'd been doing a lot of singing and demo singing and shows and everything. And she's like, let's just put in the demo. We'll retrack it later, blah, blah, blah. And she just crushed it. I mean, I think she did like 3 takes maybe, you know, and I think later she may have punched like a couple little things, but man, she's just on it. And what's great about Dua is she has such an identity. She's such a special human being that she knows what she likes, you know, and that's a huge thing. It's like, it's not like trying to find the artist. She's like, I like that, I don't like that. And it's the same with vocals. She's like, I could do that line better, like whatever. And so it was magical working with her, because it's like you're just working with somebody who knows what they want, so you're just trying to capture, you know, the emotion. So it's been, we did a bunch of other songs, a bunch didn't make the album, but I love working with her, and she's, you know, an amazing person. And you know, I appreciate, you know, you saying that about Physical, and it's so awesome to see like her having this like crazy moment right now with all these songs. It's freaking awesome.
Yeah. And let's see. So you did with the new Katy Perry.
New Katy Perry, bunch of stuff coming out. Just wrote Justin Bieber, wrote and produced Justin Bieber, Ariana's recent single "Stuck with You." We did that in quarantine actually, which is crazy, all through Zoom. And then
how do you keep everything clear?
It was crazy. Like and it's cool. Ariana and Bieber tracked themselves. Like they were both at home and they just recorded. I did all the music like at home in my bedroom, because I wasn't going to the studio at the time. And that night, like the day that I finished, we wrote it. I finished the production like a week later. We sent it to their teams who really wanted, Ariana on it. We weren't even thinking Bieber, to be honest, yet. And that night, Ariana was like, I guess she loved it. She cut it at home. That night we had a vocal. Like the day we sent it out, I was like, oh my God, this is Ariana. And the next day she punched some stuff in, and then she's like, hey, do you mind if I send this to Justin? Like, it could be cool to do a duet. And we're like, we don't mind. Sent it to Justin, cut it that next day. Josh Goodwin mixed it the day after. It was out 3 days later. So that was insane. Yeah.
So the song, you wrote the song, but was it always going to be for her, or you didn't know yet?
We just wanted to write a song about being stuck at home, and try to bring some light to the situation. It was early on. It was like 2 weeks into quarantine, and and there was the reasons for quarantine code has obviously been a freaking horrible thing and changed the course of history, and it's so sad. But it was like, I feel like there's a way to, bring some light into this. And I feel like there's a way to bring some emotion and romance. It was like, let's just write a song about being stuck with the person that you love, whether it be your dog, whether it be your parents, whether it be whatever. So it was like, just trying to do that, So we weren't thinking Ariana, but we just wanted to do some feel good soul thing for times. Yeah.
Do you have to do that? You write the songs and then you try to find the person after the fact?
Yeah. Sometimes you write with the artist, but a lot of times it's like, just try to write a damn good song, and then when you're done, you're like, who'd this be good for? Oh, we should send it to this person. It's a lot of songs don't get cut. A lot of songs die right there.
So you recently was Billboard's #1 producer? Because Ariana Grande, Justin Bieber song debuted at #1. And what else did you have at the same time? I can't keep up.
I have a Halsey Marshmallow single right now called Be Kind. So, that was the weirdest thing ever.
How do you find out? Do they reach out?
I found out because I was about to do a session. I was on my laptop. It was 5 minutes before a session. And my good friend Madison Love, who's an incredible songwriter, sent me a text, and she was just like, congratulations, heart, exclamation mark. And I was like, huh? And then 3 seconds later, my other friend, congratulations. I was like, what the hell am I being congratulated for? And I was like, I literally just wrote back, what are you talking about? And then he sent me a link, and I was just like, oh my God. I texted the people in my session. I was like, I need 30 minutes. I got to call my mom. And call my mom. I was like, Ma, I got to show you this thing. This is crazy. and there's so many, I was obviously so grateful for it. And it's such a surreal thing, but also it's just there's so many incredible people that I look up to, and I was like, no way. There was definitely an element of nah, but obviously it was the coolest thing ever.
Who are some of the producers you have admired?
Well, recently, Jason Evigan, who I work with, absolutely incredible. Ben Rice, Harper, who works in the studio. I look up to all of them. And then, the Monsters and Strangers, who I do a lot of work with. They're just crushing it right now. They, they're some of the best ever. There's so many. There's honestly so many, but also Quincy and I'm blanking on names. Max Martin, all the MXM people. There's so many people that I almost everybody I look up to.
What do you think makes a good producer?
Somebody who understands the power of a song. That's a producer. It's so fun to hear crazy sonics, and I love Skrillex. He's incredible to me, and his sonics are amazing. But he also understands the power of a good song and how to support that. And you listen to a song like "Sorry" by Justin Bieber. That's a perfect.
That's brilliant. Yeah,
unreal. It's perfect. From the song to the production. The production's amazing, but it never gets in the way of the song. It only helps it enhance it. So I think what makes a good production is somebody who understands song.
Okay. And do you see the direction of production and pop music, where that's going, what that might look like?
I think it's just genres don't really exist anymore, which is really cool. I think, there's blending of so many different sounds from so many different places, from blending country music to hip hop music and pop to everything is just becoming one thing, which is really cool. And I feel like the sound of pop, sure, there are some, things that you kind of hear, some similarities, but I think it's just becoming more and more diverse, which is really cool.
Yeah. Do you have like career goal?
Just to get better in music and to help people out, on a similar journey, just trying to, like figure out how to do music for a living. I mean, I used to teach. I love teaching. I'd love to go back to doing that someday. But just to try to get better and make music that touches people in a positive way, whether it makes them feel happy or sad, just something to give them emotion, That's it. Simple.
That's a good goal.
Yeah.
And do you have any like upcoming stuff that you can talk about that you're really excited about?
Some stuff coming up. I've been working a lot with Maroon. Still working a lot with them. There's a couple things in the works that should be coming out soon. But it's also the kind of thing where it's like, there was a lot of stuff. Like I worked a lot with the Jonas Brothers last year. I did like 3 months running around the US with them. And there's so many incredible songs they have that I luckily had the chance to work on a tiny bit. And, that stuff hopefully is going to come out soon. And so there's a lot of stuff that's, I think, there, but because of what's happening in the world, quarantine and everything, it's like just the temperature is just totally different. I think people are very much aware of that and maybe holding off on their, putting out records and whatever. So I don't know what's going to come out. It's hard to figure out. Nothing, who knows,
Are there ways you see that you were doing things during quarantine that may still continue post-quarantine?
Zoom. I mean, I've never done a Zoom session prior to quarantine, and I love it, man. It's like sit at home in the comforts of your own home or studio, whatever, and it's just if you take breaks, it's easy to be like, cool, I'm going to go whip up some pasta. Let's jump back on in 15 minutes. Like, or, hey, I think we got a good first verse. Like it was a long day. Let's just like jump on Zoom tomorrow for 30 minutes. Whereas before you have to figure out how to get everybody in the same room or whatever. Like it's nice. You lose some of the energy. It's nice to be in the room with people and like have that dynamic.
Yeah.
Also just like really cool to just write a song and then, be done and just be in the comforts of your own home with nobody else and just chill, So it's been, I think that's something that I actually prefer Zoom in a weird way. So I'm hoping that I could continue that for a long time. And I think what's really cool is because so much pop music is made in LA, now people like, I just got to New York and I'm here working just as much as I was when I was in LA. And I have a friend in Miami right now and there are people all over. And I think that it's all of a sudden it's allowing people to kind of work from wherever they want to. And I think it's a beautiful thing, Okay.
Yeah. Because I believe in speaking things into existence. Is there a artist that you would just love to work with that you haven't yet?
I mean, there's the greats that I just would love to room with, Paul McCartney, Stevie Wonder.
Yeah.
That's like, but there are some, I mean, there's some country artists that I love. I love Chris Stapleton. They're definitely artists. I'm just, but also, I think that I also get really excited by artists that like I don't know about that are up and coming that are just incredible. So there's some of them I'm like looking out for, but no, just people that want to make dope music. That's it. I'd love to work with Jay-Z. That'd be amazing.
Okay,
he's a goal for me. And like they're goals, but we'll see.
You never know, dude, with the trajectory you're on. I think it can happen, man. So the best place for people to check out you online, I guess, on Instagram?
Yeah, Instagram, Gian Stone, GIANSTONE. I'm not the best at social media, but that's the best place. Yeah. But it's the best place.
Did I leave anything out, man?
No, I really appreciate you doing this, though. This has been really fun. A nice departure from the crazy day. So thank you.
Sure.
I miss you, man. It's been forever. I hope to see you in person soon, not just a computer screen.
God, I think it's so wonderful. When I started seeing like your Instagram, all these things are happening. I was just so happy for you because people don't know you should know you're just like one of the most nicest guys that you can meet. Like that's very like when I first met you, like it's very genuine. You can just feel that.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Like coming from you.
You as well, man.
Thank you, dude.
Yeah.
And that was just wonderful, dude. I'm glad we were able to make it happen.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
Sure.
And hopefully we'll be able to hug it out after quarantine.
Yes. One of these days. Whenever that happens.
Yeah, really.
Okay, take care, man. I will talk to you soon.
Thank you, boys.
Later.
Talk soon.
I hope you enjoy my conversation with Gian Stone. Make sure you follow him on Instagram at Gian Stone. And I will put in the show notes a link to an article that Billboard did on him for debuting at number 1 on the top 100 producers chart. You can find me online many places, talkmusictalk.com, for more podcast information and to stream every single episode. That's over 200 episodes. You can also find me on Instagram at This Is Boys, so follow me there because I've been doing IG Live conversations with past guests. And you can subscribe to the podcast many places: Spotify, iTunes, Stitcher Radio, iHeartRadio, and too many to name. Just search for Talk Music Talk. Also, you can find the podcast on SoundCloud at soundcloud.com/This Is Boys. There is also an app. It is free wherever you like to get your apps. Again, just search for Talk Music Talk. And wherever you happen to listen, please leave a 5-star rating and or review because it helps to spread the word about the podcast. Thank you so much for listening. Until next time, and there will be a next time, this one's for you, Liz.